Hello BookTube, it's Becky from Becky Writes. This is Becky Reads, and this is some Christian reading recommendations. It is very nearly Christmas for those of you who are religious and celebrate that holiday, and I thought that getting in the spirit of the religious aspect of the season, for those of you who are interested, I would give some religious recommendations. If you're not a practicing Christian, I'm not in no way trying to convert you. These are for folks who are interested in something that's along the devotional line rather than the scholastic line of Christian literature. The first book I want to recommend is Accidental Saints by Nadia Bolz-Webber. This is a short, sweet little book that is an overview of the church year. So the church liturgical calendar starts with Advent, which usually is the Sunday after Thanksgiving in the US, and goes through until Christ the King Sunday, which is the Sunday before Thanksgiving in the US, usually. This charts the liturgical year's seasons, from Advent to Epiphany to Lent to Eastertide to Ordinary Time, and all the different holidays that Christians, or some Christians, liturgical Christians, will celebrate while telling stories of the unique church that she pastors in Denver. Some of the stories are laugh out loud funny, some of them are break your heart sad and difficult, but it is the story of a flawed person who is a pastor and her very flawed flock. If you are someone who has been involved in church life, or maybe you have been wary about what church life is like, this is a nice look because it isn't saccharine, it isn't sugar sweet. It's a really human look at what it means to be a person of faith, and is a great read and might be a good way to start the new year afresh. Another book that I recommend as far as starting the season afresh is 15 Days of Prayer with St. Francis Assisi. This is by Fede Matura. Order of the Franciscans. I don't think I said his name right, but there you go. St. Francis of Assisi is well loved, even by people who aren't Christian. He is remembered for preaching to the birds and for loving nature, right? And he is famed for saying, preach the gospel always, use words only when necessary. And this is a sort of just, not step by step, but a prayer guide and a journaling guide to help you start or deepen a prayer life. I will admit that, like, I don't pray every day and I'm really terrible about daily devotionals. It's true. It's true. So if that's something that you think would be meaningful to you, I would really, really recommend this. This one is definitely for people who are on Team Jesus. If you're someone who's kind of experimenting, this might be a little bit too Jesus-y right up front. But you know what? If you like St. Francis of Assisi, if you want a meditative tool, you know, it has little daily readings for you to reflect upon, to journal upon if that's something that's meaningful. This is a great book. For those of you who maybe grew up in Team Jesus, but you've left because you're frustrated with some of the rhetoric of the church that's more conservative, I want to recommend A New Kind of Christianity by Brian D. McLauren. Pretty much lots of things by Brian D. McLauren would be a great read, but this one I like because it literally gives you outlines of things that aren't working in the church, and then it gives you some answers for how the church can respond. This is not a perfect text, and I have some challenges I would make to it, but as someone who is a person of faith, I became a religious person as an adult, but who was very much pushed away by ultra-conservative rhetoric around Christianity and the idea that only people who, you know, had 12 kids and didn't believe in celebrating Christmas were the only real Christians, you know what I mean? Like, or if you went to a mega church, those are the only kinds of real Christians. If you are someone who falls outside of those categories and you were looking for someone offering a really good critique of faithful Christianity, not of theology, not of how we read and interpret scripture, not of worship, but as the holistic bundle that is Christianity, I would really recommend this. I actually listened to this on audiobook and have read it, and I really, really enjoy it. It has a great foundation in scripture, if that matters to you. It has just a whole bunch of questions, right? Everything in here is framed about questions and how we answer them as a progressive church. So A New Kind of Christianity might be something for those of you who maybe have flirted with the faith, have left the faith, who are looking for an avenue back in, or like you're a total outsider and you want to see what progressive Christians have to say. This is a great book. It's not long, it's an easy, accessible read, and I would definitely recommend it. Then for those of you who are definitely on Team Jesus or are thinking about joining Team Jesus, this is a great book if you want to get your, like, hackles raised. This is a wonderful book, The Irresistible Revolution by Claiborne. Claiborne has some controversies about his lifestyle, but he is a pioneer in the modern monasticism movement. And so he lives in the Simple Way, which is a simple living community in Philadelphia. This chronicles how he ended up there and some of the different experiences that he had as he changed his whole outlook on faith and decided to take literally some of the things that Jesus says that most Christians ignore, like sell all your possessions and give the money to the poor and come and follow me. He basically did that. And what does that mean, and what does this radical kind of lifestyle mean for following Jesus and the gospel? I really liked this because as someone who was coming to faith as I read this book, I was really disheartened by Christianity. I thought it was a bunch of hypocrites. And so to see that there were some people who were taking those radical ideals of poverty and charity and being truly with those in the margins. He works with a lot of homeless and unstably housed individuals. He lives in a very poor part of Philadelphia where they run a free after-school program and things like that. Just people putting their money where their mouth is, which is not something that I grew up seeing modeled among the Christians that I knew, was really refreshing. And this is an older book. This is my very beloved and battered copy. As you can see, even the recommendation blurbs are underlined in this. But I find it a really inspiring read. It just reminds me of the passion that brought me to this particular religious tradition over others, and I enjoyed it. So if you are someone who, it's the Christmas season and you're looking for something that is going to take you away from the materialism that you are surrounded by and get you kind of fired up about living a truly simple life and a radically different life than a consumerist lifestyle, this is a really great read. The last and final book is the only one I haven't finished, and it's one that I am slowly making my way through, savoring it. I'm not trying to race through that, and that is Jesus, A Pilgrimage by James Martin. James Martin is a Jesuit priest, and I work at a Jesuit university, so I have a great love for the Jesuits. And the Jesuits are known for being quite intellectual and yet deeply faithful. And I have found this book to be very much those at that intersection. This is sort of a devotional text that looks at the different locations that Jesus visits during his lifetime, from Bethlehem to Golgotha, from Nazareth to Cana. These are the different places mentioned in his life and the scriptures and reflections and theological musings about all of the places, the physical places that are mentioned in the Gospels. I am really enjoying this so far. I think if you're someone who was looking for some intellectual engagement, but you don't want to read a scholastic book, right? You want something that is going to speak to your emotions and speak to your spirit, but also not have you have your mind checked at the door. This is a really good one. It is a big book, but it is proven to me to be a really good read so far. And if you are looking for something maybe a little quieter than the other books, maybe one that's going to be a little bit more nurturing, then this would be a good read, and it would be a really great read to start around Christmas, since we will be celebrating the birth in a manger in Bethlehem very, very soon. Alright friends, so those are my Christmas reads. They're not Christmassy in the sense that they have to do with the holiday of Christmas, but for those of you who celebrate and are on Team Jesus and want some book recommendations that might nurture your faith life, I figure that this would be a good time to recommend those. If you are not, that's cool. Totally cool. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope for those of you who are celebrating, you have a beautiful, beautiful Christmas, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye!